What is up, Mountaineer Nation? My name is Mountaineer Paul. You're live with a special guest, Keenan Cummins from WestVirginiaSports.com, also a member of Rivals. Find him on Twitter at RivalsKeenan. Keenan, we've got some more news. It seems like the basketball news is outweighing the football news here anymore. Another commitment to the Mountaineers. This guy in the mold of a Raekwon battle. It's a really, really similar game. Seems like he gets into the lane, can dish it. I really loved your breakdown on WestVirginiaSports.com of his game. Can you tell Mountaineer Nation a little bit what we've got here? The situation seems to be a little bit up in the air, but do you have any knowledge of that situation? And talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, Noah Farrakhan, you were mentioning earlier, kind of kicked back a little second ago. It really is like Michael Corleone at this point. Every time you think you're out, they keep pulling you back in. I get a text message and, hey, this could be coming, so I'm getting stuff ready again. I mean, we're neck deep into fall camp. It's football season. We're still adding pieces to the roster, so I'm all messed up. This summer's been crazy with basketball, but I do commend what West Virginia staff has done. But when it comes to a skill set, this is a kid that was really highly recruited out of high school. Actually ended up at East Carolina, strangely enough, but had a lot of major offers. Two-time transfer. That's the thing. I guess this will be a second transfer. That's the catch here. You look at his numbers, really impressive all the way around. I mean, he's a guy that averaged 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2.3 assists. He started like 54 or 58 games over his 2 years, shot 40% from three, over 40% from three the year before. And you wonder how a guy like that's still available. Well, it's that pesky two-time transfer deal, as you saw with across NCAA right now. They're cracking down on it, so it's not likely they could apply for a waiver. I don't think it's not likely he'd play. But when it comes to additions, this is a guy that West Virginia can build around for the future. You mentioned his skill set. He's really, really good off the bounce. He can get to the rim, get in the lane, really good pulling up at the elbows. His pull-up jumpers on point. I'd say that's probably, outside of his ability to get to the rim, probably the strength of his game. Really good facilitator, sees the floor well. I'm not quite sure he's in the mold of Kirk Kriisa. He's not going to try to pass the ball first. He's a scoring guard, but he definitely can pass the ball, get his teammates involved. As far as improvements, he's got to improve his range. I mentioned he shot 40% from three. That number dipped quite significantly last year. Needs to work better on catch and shoot. Those are some things that he struggled with. But adding a guy like this late, I think that people are immediately going to kind of dismiss this in a sense that he might not play this year. I don't think that's necessarily wise to do. You look at West Virginia's roster and what it could look like next year. And I know everyone out there is well, we don't know what the roster is going to look like month to month. With how things have gone over the past couple of weeks, but you look at this roster, they're going to need guys that can step in and play, and just having him here, getting him acclimated, going through practice, even if he can't suit up this year, that's going to really
pay deal.
Off. Yeah, it's a low risk, high rewarded addition to West Virginia on the roster, if they could afford to make it. And I think that, there were some other teams definitely going to be involved here. And, again, it's just a credit to this West Virginia staff. You can't say enough. What they did in April and May was impressive, very impressive. But I think what they've done afterwards with all the turmoil, everything that's happened, holding this team together for the most part. Yeah, you're going to have some guys leave. It's the nature of college basketball. But holding this roster together and then adding some pieces on top of that has made this team, I don't want to say it's better, but you have an argument. And who would have said the day that Bob Huggins resigned that you would have that argument? I think that's a testament to what the coaching staff, Jay Kuntz and all those guys have been able to do, putting this roster together.
Great breakdown. And I am in 100% agreement with you. Joe Tipton, Trilly Donovan, all over this as well. Seeing tweets from those guys. I think it was Joe Tipton was maybe the first source I saw it from. He's a guy that's really been posting quite a bit here lately. But one thing I noticed, he said 5-star Darren Peterson, the number two overall recruit in the 25 class, chimes in about West Virginia's latest edition. And you can see right there, he typed, West Virginia's that move right now. So not only is this edition paying dividends for the here and now, it's paying dividends for the future as well, like you said. And recruits are taking notice of this class. You know, we've seen several big-time recruits make small comments here and there. If anything, what other basketball program is making waves positively this late in the season other than West Virginia? There's not that many. And so a lot of times being remembered last can be turn into being remembered best. And so I really hope that's the case for West Virginia. A guy like Darren Peterson would certainly be a huge addition. Of course, that's still a little bit down the line. But overall, like you said, the job that Jay Kuntz and those guys have done, I just love it for him because he had the Undertaker thing that he posted the other day. He's had a couple really funny memes that he's been able to post and GIFs that I thought were really funny in reference to what people were saying about them. Down and out, you were dead, and all not so fast. So we've got a couple people here. Tosh Miller. So he probably won't be able to play till next year. I think that's what most people were alluding to. Certainly, I think it's late. I mean, the 22nd's the cutoff date, right, Keenan?
Well, they'd have to apply for a waiver, and I at this point, I'm not sure you would get it. There'd have to be some outstanding circumstances, and it's just the NCAA is cracking down on the two-time waivers or the two-time transfers at this point. You've seen it in football, you're seeing it in basketball. You know, every situation's different, though. I know a lot of people get confused. You know, just because one player got denied doesn't mean another will, and it doesn't mean West Virginia will even apply for one here. My understanding is this was kind of they just wanted to get him on the roster. You know, it's a guy that has high talent. You know, like I said, can spend a year with the program and develop. I think that's going to help him. It's going to help the program long term. And, you know, you mentioned these guys, you know, they understand, you know, this is a year for them. This is I hate to say it in a sense, but a tryout year, a year that they could prove themselves, you know, and they've assembled a roster that's going to give themselves a chance. You know, I do
no
a
doubt
call
about
it. The 3-2-1, and I'm looking, you know, where this roster sets in the Big 12 this week. And I think that you got to tip your cap with what they've been able to do. You know, you'll see how it plays out. You know, you never know how guys are going to acclimate together and play on the floor. But on paper, it's hard to argue that this wasn't about as good an outcome so far. And I'm not sure they're done. I'm really not sure they're done. I know that the timeline is ticking here, but I'm not sure they're done with additions. But so far, it's hard to argue that they haven't done it as well as they could possibly do.
Well, you look at what left, and you start to look at the additions. Can the addition of a Cook, and Slazinski, can that be better than Trey Mitchell? I think it can. You know, I think that more than compensates those two players together, especially for the loss of a Trey Mitchell. And then you look at the other guys that we lost. There were more role players that we expected to turn into probably a little bit more. Okonkwo looked like a guy with high potential. I really feel like, though, that what's come in has replaced what left more than enough. And I'll be interested to know where the roster falls when you guys do that on that. What is it, a podcast or
it's
an
a
article
column each week? Yeah,
a column. Okay. Oh, the 3-2-1. Oh, okay. I got you now. I'll be interested to see where West Virginia roster fares. I think a case could be made definitely for a top 4 to 6 roster for sure. But I'll be interested to see where they land. You know,
yes, and that's crazy, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's absolutely crazy to think about because when those 4 players exited, you know, there's not a lot left on the board, and there's been a lot of maneuvering around, you know, getting in position for guys, and you know, not enough credit is played to that because I think a lot of people just hear the words transfer portal and think it's, you know, some unlimited fountain of resources. It's not. You know, there are only so many guys out there. Every school has access to the database. Every school understands the players that are out there. And typically, if players are in the portal at this time of year or even a little bit later, there's issues.
Usually baggage.
Eligibility or concerns. But West Virginia, I think, has done a really good job assembling a roster of guys that, for the most part, are going to be able to play. Now, cross your finger for Raekwon Battle. You know, that has to be cleared eventually. But as long as he is on the floor for them, I think that this roster is going to be pretty exciting and something for fans to be excited about.
I've got cats, and I can't keep them out of the camera anytime I do anything. I'm at a friend's house, just to clarify it real quick. I'm at a friend's house, and he has cats that don't get along with mine. So a lot of the people that watch the show know I'm displaced right now and not in my house. So it is what it is. It's not like I can, you know, they don't know any better. So it's all good. I think a lot of people are asking about news on Battle. I think Keenan pretty much answered that right now. We're still waiting on an answer for that.
I don't expect
There
any
is
resolution there for that. I mean, it's going to take a little while.
Gotcha. Well, and considering the circumstances, I understand why that is. It's just not your typical case. So it's not a guy that's trying to transfer for the second time just because there's other circumstances involved. So we understand that. And hey, look, I think a lot of people are they have high hopes for this transfer or for this waiver. So we're going to go that route with it and just kind of pray that it happens because, like I saw Trilly post it. I don't think I think America just generally, now that the dominoes have fallen and people have gotten to review a lot of these players that have landed different spots, I think a lot of people are coming around just to how much potential a guy like Raekwon Battle has. It's kind of a catchphrase of mine. I say, watch the tape or turn on the tape. Just do it. I'm not talking about highlights. Go watch games if you get time. I know not everybody can. Raekwon Battle sticks out in every game he plays in. He's certainly an in-game high-flying dunker, special athlete, and a guy that can certainly, I think, average 15 to 16 points a game in the Big 12. So, do you need to get out of here, Keenan?
I'm getting a guest. My daughter just came in.
Oh. Well, we really appreciate you for being here, man. I know that you've got family time and everything, and certainly appreciate you being here. Like I said, guys, do you need to go or?
Yeah, probably. Short notice here.
Sorry. Okay. No, it's all good. I appreciate you coming on here and running things down.
Yeah, my 4-year-old came in here crying, so I got to get on dad duty.
No problem at all, man. Thanks for that breakdown, and people can rewind and watch what you said. Like I said, really feel appreciated for you coming on here.
No problem, buddy.
Thanks, Keenan. All right, guys, it's just me. I think Koo still may jump on. We really jumped on here quick, guys, because Keenan is obviously, as you guys know, extremely hard to get on. He's a friend of the show. He's been on a couple times now. But it's not always easy to get those media guys on. They work a day job. They do this for their day job, and then they get home, and guys like me who are podcasters / YouTubers say, hey, can we talk about today's news? So it's, you know how it is. So it's kind of hard to get these guys on. And I certainly don't want to keep people from their kids, so. Timothy, it's a good question, man. I would like to know myself why they're dragging their feet on the waivers. I don't want to say it's because we're West Virginia, but I think that plays a little small part. I actually have a video plan, guys, and here's the premise for it. So, did anybody see the Vegas odds for the first head coach to be fired? Did anybody see that? Who the odds-on favorite to be fired first is? It's Neil Brown, right? And so I got to thinking. I'm not going to go into any more detail about this because I'm going to do a video on my Mountaineer Paul Talk Football channel. But when you look at it, is this an assassination attempt of our program via the media and other outlets to try to keep us out of conference realignment in the future or whatever? Think about this. Football program voted dead last. Quarterback voted 69th out of 69th. You look at Neil Brown, he's voted, which obviously Neil Brown is probably one of the things I understand. But still, it's still really negative publicity. You look at Joe Lunardi, he dropped our seeding from 6th to 11th when he released his newest bracketology there last week. Now, maybe that goes up. I don't know. But everywhere you look, it's negative publicity for the Mountaineers. And certainly we have given a lot about to ourselves, or that we can Bob Huggins or how the football team has performed. Completely get that. But generally speaking, all that negativity, guys, hurts our program, whether people want to believe it or not. So I'm going to do a video on that and kind of speculate, is the media, are we so hated, or is it just in our heads? Are we crazy? Does every team get talked about as badly as we do, or is it just in my head? Do I look at those things and say, holy crap, we were voted 14th, our quarterback was voted 69th, Neil Brown's getting fired first, we're getting dropped in seeding. Am I crazy, or do they really hate us? And I think that's a question that's needs to be asked and talked about and fleshed out. So curious to know if you guys would like that kind of video, because I thought it was interesting myself. Tosh, I actually just spoke with Ethan about 15, 20 minutes ago. The problem with this news is, so obviously we've known since yesterday that this guy was a possibility, that he was probably going to be coming to West Virginia. But trying to get these guys that do this for their day job on a YouTube show is tough, man. It really is. It's not easy. I can get him next week easily, but to try to get somebody the day news breaks or the day after, um, and even like, there's been a couple times where I could say, look, you're going to be, it's going to be 200 people in there probably in the chat room, and that's still not enough to always convince somebody to show up. Visibility is not everything. So, and I understand that. Sorry, guys, I didn't have a chance to even set my camera up right before the show started. Yeah, every school is having waiver issues, Rick. It just so happens that we needed more than other schools did. We needed Jose's done, and we needed Omar's done. Now we need Raekwon's done. And I think that's just an inordinate amount of waivers to need. But in this day and age of the transfer portal, where there are multiple time transfers, a team like a university like West Virginia, for us to get top end talent, sometimes we have to take chances. And a guy like this kid here, Noah Farrakhan, is not that he has any baggage as far as personally, but because he's going to need that transfer waiver or possibly have to graduate, he was still in the portal. But guess what? But since we're willing to take on that scholarship and push it back to next year, we've got a guy that could be a top 5, 6 player in the Big 12 next year. So, you take what you can get when you're a program the size of West Virginia. Obviously, the Kansases, the Kentuckys, the North Carolinas, the Dukes, and sometimes the UCLAs get whatever they want. The pickings, it's the rest of us that kind of try to battle for everything else. So, although I am super proud of our guys and the quality of players we've been bringing into Morgantown, we're still, not considered a blue blood, and we don't get every player we want. So, hey Seth, we just talking about the Farrakhan, the Noah Farrakhan signing from Eastern Michigan. Just kind of talking about that. We had Keenan Cummings on to talk about that. If you want to rewind it, you're more than welcome to. This is a kid that is extremely athletic. We're talking about a guy that is very similar to Raekwon Battle. Go watch his highlight tape or any of his games. He's extremely talented, guys. He's really good. He can pull up from either, like Keenan just broke him down. He's really good from either elbow. Something I saw that he did was he's really good at shooting threes off the dribble, which is something you don't see every day. He's certainly a plus athlete that can jump out of the gym, and generally a guy that's probably going to average, double figures for the Mountaineers. He was actually better the year before last than he was last year. I think something happened. Might have been an injury, but generally speaking, guys, this is an excellent addition and a guy that can build around. You've got your guard already going into next year, even if he doesn't get approved this year. So I think instant gratification, it is what it is. We all want what we want when we want it. But come next season, we're going to be really glad that he didn't play. Just kind of like, aren't you glad Jose Perez didn't play with last year's team? Now we've got him for this year. Similar situation. We're not going to have Noah Farrakhan for this year, but God willing, we're going to have him for next year. So I think that's all well and fine and dandy. Yeah, I agree, Dwayne. I think that's going to be the case. I mean, I wouldn't put it past either to run 4 guards. I wouldn't put it past him to keep maybe just run 4 guards with Jesse on the court at times, maybe a cook on the court at certain times. So different things like that. Right. I understand that, but I mean, Well, here's the Timothy. Why I completely agree with you. I mean, it's true. We probably get disrespected more. I hate to live in that victim mindset. I've got a friend that just a week ago he wrecked his car, and it was because he was on Xanax, and a lot of people in his life wanted nothing to do with him. I was in the house trying to keep him from driving the day he wrecked, and so I took a step back from this guy, and he said, "Well, I'll just kill myself." And that victim mentality, even though it's your fault, in some situations, I just can't deal with. Sometimes I just want to say, you know what, we have the cards we have. That's fine. Let's play them, and we still win most of the time, guys, as Mountaineers. And look at the numbers. We are the winningest teams for a reason. It's not because we've always been dealt good cards. We've had to make our own way, and we're good with that. It's what makes us blue collar. Yeah, Matthew, definitely. From my conversations with, well, I can't say with who, but sometimes I almost spit out intel that's going to get me in trouble. From my conversations, though, yes. Not only are there backups for like a Raekwon Battle and Omar, there are backups for those backups apparently. But the thing is, guys, the farther down the line you go, it's kind of like, well, that's a bad joke. The farther down the line you go, the worse it gets. So kind of like beer. You drink so many beers, things look better, but they're really not, are they? Can you explain what you mean there, Tosh? What do you mean we most likely won't have a hymn this year? I really want to know what you mean by that, bro, because if you're talking about basketball, Jesse Edwards he just dropped 20 on the starter from the LA Clippers just yesterday. So I think he's him personally. Raekwon Battle, if he gets his waiver approved, is a guy that can be a him. And I'm not a big fan of using that terminology, but it just seems a little bit younger than who I am. But hey, I'm all good. I'm all good with it. I understand what it means and everything. There he is.
What's up, man?
Not much, man. You missed Keenan by just a couple minutes.
I know. Yeah, I kind of caught a couple minutes of it. I'm sorry. I didn't have time to set up my computer and everything, man. So I just decided to do this.
It's all good, man. I'm glad you came on. My mouth was getting really dry.
Yeah. I'm gonna. You want me to go ahead and give my 2 cents on Noah Farrakhan?
Sure.
Just got through watch as I was eating dinner. I was watching highlights so I could jump on here and talk for a minute. First thing come to my mind, a little bit more athletic version of Deuce.
I like it.
He's really good at making shots off the dribble, creating his own shot. He's good at the mid-range game from the elbow, like I heard you mention. He's good at taking to the rim. He can shoot the three, but it's not his strength. I mean, that's the first thing I thought of. Probably, which I haven't had time to evaluate a lot, just watching a few minutes of highlight tape. But yeah, he kind of reminds me of Deuce, just the way he plays, especially on offense. I haven't got to see him on defense at all. But other than
that's a great comparison.
He did get a few steals in the highlights I watched. So it looks like he has good length.
Yeah, he's right around 6'2", almost 6'3". I think he's like 6'2.5". So he's right around Deuce's. He's a little bit smaller than Deuce. I think Deuce is 6'4". But he plays a lot like him. That's a great comparison. Although I think he's more athletic, just a tad. He really can jump out of the gym. Yeah, he's a high flyer.
Not that I don't want to make it sound like Deuce isn't athletic, because he is, but I think this guy is a little bit. He can just jump higher than Deuce can. And he's probably a little bit quicker off the dribble. Now Deuce, but you got to realize, here's what I think. I think this guy is just a little bit further ahead of Deuce as far as where he's at now.
Oh, there's no doubt.
It took Deuce 2 years of college ball to Power 5 level to get where he's at.
One of the highlights I watched of his earlier had Josh Green, who was in his second or third year in the NBA. So those are his high school highlights.
Well,
So
you're talking about Farrakhan, right?
yeah, he's
Yeah.
playing. There's guys in their second and third year in the NBA right now that played against him in high school. So he's an older guy, which I'm not sure about the graduate situation with him. I don't know if he can graduate or what, but I don't think it's going to happen from everything I've been told.
Yeah, according to the article that Ethan wrote about it, they think he's going to sit a year and then have 2 years of eligibility remaining.
Right. Well, I'm sure he's going to be getting paid well to do it too.
Josh Eilert's going to make it hard for them to fire him, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be firing him. I don't want to say fire him. He's going to make it hard for them to let him walk away.
Yeah, I think so. Look what he's, and that's actually really smart. If you've got the scholarships to do it, so if you can get a couple really good guys for next year, this year, you could say, look what I got coming back. That's a really smart thing to do. I mean, really smart. Hey, real quick, guys, I got to give
my heat pump just kicked on, so I got to move. But
oh, that's fine. I was just going to shout out Dutch real quick. I hadn't had a chance to do it because Keenan was on and I didn't. He was in a hurry.
I'll let you do that. I don't have it.
Okay.
Me, so go ahead.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing, ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. All right.
Sorry if there's a lot of background noise.
I don't hear anything.
Good. You probably will.
Deuce is in town today, Mark? Huh. Interesting.
Yes, Matthew,
I'm not sure.
There you go. Well, I say that there could be ways. There could be ways around it if he can get enough NIL money.
Yeah.
Potentially pay for a year of school. They wouldn't have to use the scholarship. Hugs did that last year with some guys. With Jose,
I would almost bet on that's what they're doing with him. I would almost bet, at least for this year. Then you give him a scholarship next year or whatever. I mean,
I know you probably touched on it already, but did you touch on how the 5-star recruits are now talking about West Virginia?
Just briefly, but I have it right here. And nobody was in here when I said that, so hold on. Can you read that? Can you even see it?
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Take that comment real quick if you don't care, so it'll be easier for people to see. Take Matthew's comment down so that it won't cover up the picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says 5-star Darren Peterson, the number 2 overall recruit in the 2025 class, chimes in about West Virginia's latest addition. Peterson recently transferred to Huntington Prep, located just a few hours from Morgantown. And that's from Joe Tipton on Twitter.
Did you see what he wrote on there?
Recruits. Huh?
Did you see what he wrote above his picture? West Virginia is that move right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, and if they don't, I don't know, man. How is Jay Kuntz not the most valuable coach in the country right now?
He's got to be one of the top 2 or 3, anyways. I mean, well, based on everything that's happened, you can make the case that he is. Actually, Keenan outlined it really well. Just before you came on, and just looking back at where this thing was at, in June to now is just night and day. It really is.
Yeah.
It's almost like the thing with Hugs didn't happen, but I wouldn't go that far to say that it's like it didn't happen.
Hey, I was just thinking of something. Josh Eilert may be more of a player's coach than Bob Huggins was. He might actually be able to recruit better than Huggins.
Who's that? Eilert?
Eilert.
Um,
I mean, we don't know that yet.
well,
It's too early to tell, but I'm just
too early to tell.
speculating.
Well, the kind of players that Hugs liked are not the kind of players that they're going to want, and
Right.
I think they probably disagreed on certain players, like, just a guy like, let's look at who's a guy that was just a defensive only guy that ended up being a lot better, like
Gabe.
Like Gabe. Yeah, Gabe's a good one. Or who played?
Thurman.
Who was it? Cam Thurman, or like the guy that played along Deuce for years. I can't just not. He just slipped my mind because we're live. I can't really think.
You mean the guy that played beside JC Dax?
The guy, Daxter Miles. There's a good example. Dax is a guy.
He had some offensive game too, though.
Not when he first came in.
But defense was his calling card. Yeah. Kedrian's another one.
Point being, yeah. You look at the kind of guys they're signing now. These are offensive first kind of guys, at least so far.
I think I was going to. I'm telling you, I think. Look, I love Bob Huggins, but I think Josh Eilert's brand of basketball might be more fun to watch.
Yeah, and look, maybe what Hugs was doing was kind of dying a little bit. I just personally think, here's what I say about it. I think what Hugs did will work in any era, but I just think his ability to execute it at the level that he once did was kind of falling off.
I think what happened, even though I don't like the way it happened, I wish Hugs could have left on his own terms and,
Me too.
All of that. But this could end up being the best thing. I don't want to say the best thing, but it could end up being a positive thing for West Virginia basketball.
Yeah, I agree. But we got to get Jay Kuntz paid. We're not going to be able to keep him forever. It is what it is. But
Curtis hit it right there. He needs a raise.
Oh, yeah. We got to get Jay Kuntz paid, guys. I don't know if you guys know this, but he lost a lot of money with the Hugs thing the way it played out.
Wow.
And a lot. I don't know. That's just what I've been told by people I can't mention, but I'll tell you off camera. I thought you knew
That's
this.
Fine.
But
I mean, I saw somebody post the other day that he's only making $90,000 a year. And I don't know
right.
if that is.
Well,
he was making more than that at one time. So maybe that's
right. Well, he's just not. He just lost a lot of money. I know that with the Hugs situation and the way it played out. So I don't know if it was a performance-based deal or because they put him in charge of recruiting, and all that stuff. And I think it was all going to be, you assemble the team and how they play, maybe how you get paid. I'm not sure. I truly have no idea. I'm just guessing here, but I do know. All I do know is for sure he lost money when that happened. At least unless this person's lying to me, but I don't know why they would lie, and they're directly connected to the whole thing. So
yeah,
I would say that I mean, if he's only making $90,000, come on, that's like low level D1 money.
I mean, he wasn't making a huge amount, comparatively. Anyway, so I mean, the job he was doing was a lot higher level than his pay anyway. And then now if he took a pay cut, that's not good.
I would say, he's worth at least $200,000 a year. I don't know what the comparative salaries are though.
I don't know.
Whoever's getting paid the most.
I know it's got to be better than $90,000, dude.
Yeah, double what he's making at least.
Tosh, I don't know of anything about Gallagher playing basketball.
Yeah, I do.
Huh?
He's come out and publicly said he's not happening.
Right. That's where I was going. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, when you said you didn't know, I thought maybe you hadn't heard that.
Well,
My bad, dude.
I meant it. I didn't mean that literal. I meant I don't know of him playing basketball. I don't know that he's going to play basketball. That's kind of what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know how he would fare and how he projects into the Big 12 anyway at his size and stature. Not that he couldn't do it. I mean, we've certainly seen some guys, smaller guys. K-State just had a guy last year, but he was an otherworldly talent. maybe Rodney would be a killer in the Big 12. But
Maybe so.
I would have
I
some
mean, look,
concerns.
yeah, I mean, those guys don't usually do well. I mean, the last guy we had to play both ways was Jarrett Brown, and he set the bench in basketball pretty much. So
Yeah,
I don't. Is it really worth it if you're going to set the bench anyway? Not saying he
Rodney's the
would,
kind of player.
but
He played through contact in high school,
right.
and I'd be worried about him doing that in college.
I just don't. I mean, he's to me. I think I'd feel better if he don't. I mean, I think he's too valuable to our football program to risk injury. That's just my opinion.
And then, did you guys see Bilal's press conference today?
Not
He
yet.
said
Man.
that
I've been too. I'm going to watch it later, hopefully.
he said Rodney is beyond where he expected him to be at this
No
point.
kidding.
Yeah,
And
he said,
dude, I'm telling you, maybe Bilal is a great. He might be the best receivers coach we've had there since Neil.
I love his press conferences. He exudes this confidence that I like to see. Yeah, he really talked up Cortez a lot though today, and I really love to see that. So, coming out of JUCO, I really love Cortez's game.
Did you see Cortez's interview yesterday?
Yeah, it was another great interview.
When he said
I loved it.
Bryce Ford Wheaton didn't like his answer about the wide receiver room this year being better than last year.
Right. Well, what's he supposed to say?
He said whatever helps him sleep better at night. Then he deleted it.
Petty. That's petty and Bryce Ford Wheaton.
It was.
What is he supposed to say?
And I think he took it out of context. They weren't. I don't think they were asking him from a talent perspective. I think they were talking about like camaraderie and the coaching and all that stuff. I think and I didn't hear. I don't remember the question, but I think the question was actually revolved around coaching and Coach Marshall and the room. You know how he does the room and everything. I think that's what he was. I think that's what he was talking about. And some media people took it and spun it and made it something it wasn't. I think, but I could be wrong. I may have misinterpreted it, but I didn't take it as him saying we're better than them. I took it as the room. It's a better room to be in. Like they're enjoying it more. They like Coach Marshall. That type of thing. That's how I took it.
Right. Well, I mean, and if you took it like that, then it's it's probably right on point, dude. Because one thing about you is like you're one of the first people I know that will take offense for another player or take up for another player if you see it that way, and you tend to see it that way.
I try to.
So if you're seeing it down the middle, if you're seeing it down the middle, I believe trust your judgment on that.
But like I said, it's hard to hear those questions in those press conferences sometimes.
Bryce Ford Wheaton's kind of sensitive anyway. It always has been. Yeah,
that kind of surprised me that he did. He did delete it, and I don't look. I've tweeted stuff I regret before. I don't feel any ill will towards Bryce for that. He's competitive, But if one of our fans, and I don't like fans doing this, but one of our fans responded with the highlight of him dropping that pass in the pit game.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Oh man! But anyway, this is a basketball show. These people don't want to hear about that, do they?
No, they don't want to hear about football. It's only
maybe
2 weeks before the biggest game, one of the biggest opening games in history.
I'm going to plug my show. I just got through. I spent.
Oh, you cut out on us.
I don't know what happened. Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to plug. I just finished recording today, and I did 3 full takes. It took me an hour to get it recorded. So I poured my heart and soul into this because I really want to do it right. But it should drop sometime tomorrow. It's already out there for my club level VIP members. But I did my season prediction video today.
Nice.
Hopefully I did it justice. So you guys be on the lookout for that. My football season prediction video.
Nice, man. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, I made a couple changes from the one we did with Jordan. A couple games that I predicted in that one that I kind of changed my mind about. The overall outcome is close to the same, but just a couple different games here and there.
Right.
And I went into more detail with my reasoning.
I wanted to wait until a week before the season kicks off. I was wanting to wait till game week to drop mine because I feel like it'll be the most excitement, best time to do it.
That is a good time.
And also we'll have more information on maybe who all the starters are.
Yeah.
Because I think, there's certain guys that I really feel are going to be good players for us this year. Anthony Wilson, I think, is going to be a household name. Keyshawn Cobb is going to be a household name. I've been preaching those two names on defense along with Dede Hawkins and James Hurd Jr. Those are pretty much my four big guys to watch out for. James Hurd Jr., Dede Hawkins, Anthony Wilson, and Keyshawn Cobb. I really love those four guys. Outside of the mainstay guys, obviously Aubrey Burks. I'm not talking about obvious ones. I'm talking about guys that aren't household names that will be. I think James Hurd Jr. was going to be my prediction for him. He's going to be a freshman All-American. Been saying that for how long now? At least 3 or 4 months. I think Dede Hawkins.
I don't think he's going to play that much.
Yeah, he will.
I think the transfer from
Abilene Christian.
Yes, I think he's going to get most of the snaps. Him and Jared Bartlett.
Jared Bartlett. What has he been? Nothing. We've seen what he is.
I'm basing it on what I'm hearing in press conferences.
Right. Well, I mean, I understand that. This coaching staff, man, I almost feel like they say things in press conferences to try to mislead the other teams. I swear I feel like Neil Brown does this.
Or to mislead
That's why the other day, or to mislead us, but I really feel like they think they're tricking other teams sometimes. Yeah. Like with like you said, you heard the positive things about Garrett Green so many weeks in a row. Maybe this is just my head, but I'm thinking, I wonder if Nico's really doing well, and they're just saying this so that teams start preparing for Garrett Green. Like those are the kind of things my head thinks. And if it was reversed, I would think the same thing about Garrett other than Nico. Like,
yeah, it's
maybe I think that goes on too much.
Well, no,
but
I put it past Neil. Neil's a very, he's a deep thinker. He's a very analytical guy, and he knows how good Penn State is. So he's probably going to use anything he can to get an edge. So it's possible.
Yeah. Sasquatch, one of my favorite names. He said, "What up, Paul and Coos and Paul? Glad to catch you live."
I didn't mean to do that. Whatever I just did.
Oh, it's not a big deal. You just move it to Randall Lowe. It seems someone working for the NCAA does not like WVU and is trying to prevent them from getting the talent they need. And then he going on to say it seems like Wares is being used as a weapon against WVU to him. I don't know if you read her earlier, Randall, when I touched on that, but I think I don't know. Because I feel like, as fans of our team, we tend to personalize this stuff to a great length. Great extent, and I sometimes wonder if we're not a little bit. I don't know. I wonder if we're playing the victim card too much sometimes. I'm the same way. You guys heard me just detail and outline a show that I'm thinking about doing tomorrow about Neil and the seed drop and the 14th preseason, Garrett Green being 69th, and all these things that we've been told. But then I started looking at some other teams. What about Virginia Tech? Go look at everything they've been projected for this year. Grant Wells was 68th. They're projected to be one of the worst teams in the ACC this year. There's a lot about Virginia Tech.
Yeah, but they've been worse than us.
Right, but I mean, Antoine Powell-Ryland is going to be a stud for them. I think he was one of the best portal pickups in the offseason. They had pickups too. They beat us out for a high level recruit. Just different things. I mean, they've had some things happen. Not great, but
yeah, I get it. I'm just biased. I hate them so much. I struggle to say anything nice about them. So
I get that. what I was trying to accomplish was like, are we really going too far with all this, or if I try to look at it with non-bias, does every team go through it, or are we just really getting thrown through the fire? Like it seems like. Like I'm really trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I get it. It's a fair question to ask. I just think people are uneducated about us, maybe to a degree, and they just base it strictly on the fact Neil Brown's on the hot seat, and they say, okay, Neil Brown's on the hot seat. They're terrible. They're last.
Neil Brown's on the hot seat, and they have no quarterback to speak of. If you got no quarterback coming into a season, I don't care how good you are everywhere else. It's like people just discount you.
But dude, I don't even think that makes sense because most of the country is assuming Garrett's going to start, even though he hasn't been announced, right?
Right.
I was on a podcast with some Oklahoma guys the other night, and they were all dumbfounded that Garrett Green wasn't the starter already because of how he played against them,
right,
on national TV. And if he
played really well,
he got Player of the Week for the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken. So
threw what did he do? 3 touchdowns before that game.
4, I don't know, but I mean he rushed
3 were to Sam Brown.
But I mean, he performed well on national television, and was performed fairly well in the Kansas State game, even though we lost.
The monsoon.
He just, and with people seeing that, you think they would not be so down on him. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, his career numbers aren't great,
but he hasn't played because that much.
That's the thing. That's the main point. He just hasn't played enough for people to have really an opinion.
Maybe not, but I mean, they got guys who are freshmen ranked above him, man. They haven't played.
I agree, but like Drew Aller was the number 1 recruit in his class, 2022, number 1 guy. So that just carries more weight, apparently.
I guess
than we who live and die with everything said about Garrett Green or Nico.
It's baffling. That's all I can say.
But I mean, Drew Aller's a guy, like, he's a pocket guy, right? So if they can't protect him, what's going to happen? That's But I'll tell you this: they feel like their offensive lineman is going to be pretty good this year, which is a shame because it's been a question mark for like 5 or 6 years, and they've had mobile quarterbacks, whether it be Sean Clifford or the guy before him, number 9. What was his name? I don't remember. Yeah, he's kind of like a Cade McNamara kind of player. But interesting.
Hey, question for you. I know this is off topic, but we've kind of gotten off topic already anyway.
We always do.
I was on a podcast, a Phoenix podcast, PHNX Sun Devils, earlier today, and they were asking me questions about Ray Anderson and Arizona State, conference realignment, yada, yada. I get off, and then I go back and rewatch it to see how I sounded. And then I kind of stayed on for a couple minutes. One of the co-hosts made a banjo joke about West Virginia. Should I be pissed off about that? They bring me on a show and then bash my state when I get off.
What was the joke?
It had to do, with the movie Deliverance, where there was the banjos and all that.
No.
Yeah.
That. I'd have to hear the context.
He's scared of the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, he said.
Oh.
And then he mentioned something about a banjo. I mean, it was a joke. So I'm probably being too sensitive. But I just thought that was kind of bullcrap to do that when you just had a guy from there on your show.
Right.
But
here's
anyway.
a fair. Yeah, I don't know. Here, Coos, answer this question.
Bring Nico in. Well, I don't know. It depends. Depends on why he's ineffective. Yeah. Is he ineffective because the line's not blocking? I think it depends on the reasoning. But if he's not playing well, this is a situation where no matter who wins the job, in my opinion. Well, I don't know. Let me rephrase this. If Nico's the guy, you got to give him a little bit longer leash because of his age, and you don't want him to lose confidence. Garrett plays bad. Garrett's a big boy. He's a grown man now. He's 21 years old. He's old enough to buy alcohol. If he's playing bad, you get his hind end out and put Nico in. That's my thoughts on it.
Right.
Nico,
I feel bad for either one of them, man.
I would too. With Nico, I think you give him a little bit. I think you got to let Nico play through any adversity.
Because it would make no sense otherwise. Yeah, if you put him in the game then jerk him the first time he has adversity, that's what'll get you fired within the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Put your future in. At least we think Nico can still be the future. I think some people are assuming that since he's not beating out Garrett Green, that's bad. What it is people just underestimate Garrett Green consistently. More so.
Yeah.
But once Nico figures it out, I think personally, I've said this from the beginning. If he gets it figured out, let's say Garrett does start this year, but Nico plays in 4 or 5 games and really starts to figure things out. If everything's equal, I do think Nico would beat Garrett out in a full competition. I do believe that. That's just, and I've held that belief because it's based on just talent. Throwing of the football.
I've never argued that Nico has a higher ceiling than Garrett does. I feel that in my soul.
Yeah.
I'm just talking. I just think right now today Garrett's more ready than me. That's all.
Well, I'm glad for that, to be honest. I don't know that I would want Nico to play against Penn State.
That's you and I talked about that the other day. And I heard Skylar. I think it was Skylar Callahan mentioned on his show. You put a young quarterback like that and throw him to the wolves, and he has a bad game, you can ruin him.
Now, do you give both 2 quarters against Duquesne? I think that's a legit question you have. Or
I think it depends.
Do you leave Garrett in for all 4 quarters and let him mesh with the team? There are so many different ways you go with it.
I think it depends on how. I think it depends on how much separation there is between the starter and the backup. If Garrett wins the job handily and it's not even close, then you probably let him play.
Yeah.
As long as you need to. If it's close, then and you still really haven't picked your guy, and then you come out against Penn State, and Garrett doesn't look that good.
Yeah.
And you go into the Kane game with some question marks, then yes, I say you play them both equally. Potentially.
I agree.
I mean, it all just depends on how that first game goes, man. And even then, it's a tough measuring stick because I think Penn State should, on paper at least, are so freaking good. I mean, I was listening to a show the other day. Matter of fact, I think it was 3 guys. And Hoppy Kercheval said he wouldn't even count. Or it may have been something. Anyway, one of the shows.
It was, no, you're right. You're right.
He said he wouldn't even count the Penn State game.
He said he called it an exhibition.
Yeah, he thinks Duquesne and Penn State are both exhibition games, basically.
That's silly. Silly talk.
I agree, but I think
it's a real game.
I think what he meant by that was I think he was referring to fans, really, not necessarily the team. But
right,
as a fan,
let's go damn sure count on the schedule.
Yeah, no, he didn't mean it that way. He just meant as far as judging the team and how good the team is this year, because Penn State is so much better than anybody else that you're playing, probably.
Yeah.
And then Duquesne is going to be so much worse than everybody else you're playing. They're outliers. It's the other 10 games that'll really tell you how good the team we have. I think at least that's how I interpreted it.
Hey guys, we got about 100 people in here right now. You know how to if you want to get your comment up on that screen. We would like to see a super chat or 2 flow through here. Not saying we're begging, but we would appreciate that if you guys feel so inclined. Certainly helps us, as we love to come live as much as we can for you guys on all 3 of our shows, Mountaineer Paul Talk Football, Kuz's Corner, and right here at Hoops from the Hills. We certainly appreciate all you guys and for joining us to talk about Noah Farrakhan, the huge commitment and add to the Mountaineers for looks like it can be a future ad. Not really sure about all the details yet, guys. We don't know if he's going to play this year or next. It seems like all signs point to next, which is just fine and dandy. Like I said earlier, aren't you glad that Jose Perez didn't play with Eric Stevenson and Emmett Matthews last year? We get him this year. You'll be feeling the same way next year about Noah Farrakhan.
And he likely
just figured I'd reel this back in just a little bit. Huh?
and he likely won't be able to go. Even if Josh Eilert doesn't keep the job, he
Well,
likely won't be able to transfer again.
here's my thoughts on that, guys. He'll probably graduate, right?
Yeah, he could graduate.
So that's the unfortunate part, guys, is he can sit here and not be paid for a year and then get the absolute crap recruited out of him on us next year and be tampered with and get pulled away. We may never see him play. That's the Mountaineer fan in me thinking that something bad's going to happen. But,
yeah, I'm with you. I thought the same thing, but yeah, I forgot he's probably old enough to graduate now, isn't he? I keep thinking he's a younger
you would
guy.
think so.
He's played.
Well, they said he had 2 years to play, 2 more years. So,
but I think one of those
maybe he won't graduate next year. Right.
I think one is the COVID year though, so that's an extra year that you get anyway.
Right. Makes sense.
I mean, I don't. It all depends on his academic situation. I don't know how many credit hours he needs and all that stuff.
Right.
I don't know if anybody knows the answer.
Hey guys, if you're not subscribed to Hoops from the Hills and Mountaineer Fallen Couzens Corner, hit the subscribe button, guys. It's free. Also, don't forget to turn your notifications on. That way, if we do go live or something like that, and you're always missing out, Seth Wilson, guys like that always say, "Oh crap, finally made it to a live." Hit those notifications, guys, and you will make it. Sasquatch, I think you're another one. Hit those notifications bell, and I promise you will be notified when we go live, stuff like that. Because if we go live, it's usually a pretty big deal. Not only do you get to see our beautiful smiling mugs, but we probably got some breaking news for you. So we appreciate you guys, though, man. You guys show up for us in every live. We're 100 deep in here right now. For a show our size, that's pretty good. We can't get to every comment, but we certainly appreciate every one of them. And if you're watching this on replay, Keenan Cummings joined the show earlier, friend of the show. I spoke with Ethan Kuz, and it was just a little bit too short a notice for him today. He said we can probably work something out for next week, though. So maybe we'll talk to Ethan next week.
Yeah, we need to. We need.
Yeah, I agree. We need to have him on. We do. We need to talk to him about that. So, it'll be interesting. You guys can certainly steer the direction of this conversation, though. If you want it to be football, let's talk football. If it's not, we can, if you're done, we can get off here, whatever. But my cat licks herself behind me. I can't control him. Wow. So I'll be interested in this. When are you uploading that video you just did, today or tomorrow?
It'll be tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow. I don't know what time.
You're looking for that.
I gave my members early access to it.
Oh.
I haven't done that in a while. They pay me, so I better give them something once in a while.
Yeah. Speaking of that, guys, how many of you guys in here would be willing to make a commitment to this channel on a monthly basis that are in the chat room right now? We got 91 of you. Just to get a baseline, guys. Basically, what it would be is anytime I have some kind of intel, well, maybe I find out we got a recruit that's coming in a few weeks before it's public knowledge, and I do get that a lot. It's not me just saying that, and Kuz as well, or anything like that. Would a monthly something like Kuz has? You explain to him what it looks like, Kuz. I don't even know what the cost is or anything.
It's a membership. I mean, we set the cost. Honestly, it's up to us to set the pricing level. But typically, it's about $2.99 a month. I think that's about the lowest you can go. You can do higher levels, but you sign up as a member of the channel, and you basically get perks. We provide you with some perks. We give you shout outs. We may give you early access to some content. Like Paul said, we might be able to give you some insider content potentially that nobody else gets, things like that. Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it works.
Okay, and if you're watching the show after the fact, I mean it's 59 minutes in,
and it's for a monthly fee. I forgot to mention that part. The $2.99 I mentioned is a monthly fee. Like for example, on my football channel, I've got 2 levels: a $2.99 a month level and $4. I'm thinking about adding a third. at some point here in the very near future, and it's maybe doing like a Discord where we just talk to each other and Mark Paul said maybe share insider info. But other than that, I haven't. Sometimes it's hard to come up with ideas to.
Right.
I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, so
Right.
I'm skittish about starting. Trying to commit to too much.
Right.
Reynolds
Well,
says he'd be interested.
Okay. Well, that's a start. And I know not all our usual people are on here, but um, if you would be interested, we would certainly be interested in that. Obviously, we'll have to talk about that though, depending on the response here and just how Kuz and I feel about that. Like he said, don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. That's a great way to put it. But I mean, I knew about, for instance, I knew about Farrakhan 2 days ago. I'm sure a lot of you did too. Um, my Mountaineer Fall Football. If you ever watched my show, um, you guys know I knew about Keyshawn Cobb before even the local media did. There was a couple of football recruits, high school level, and Coos can vouch for every bit of this. Every time I find something out, I show him first. most of the time, unless I'm
And
specifically asked not to.
I haven't been taking advantage of that either. I could be doing that for my channel members, but potentially, but I haven't.
So obviously, I don't claim to be a guru with that, guys, but I do have a lot of connections. Just from when you're in this field, here's how I best explain it. When I first got into this, I knew that some of the local media people, like we had Keenan on, just as an example. I'm not saying I have anything like that with Keenan going on, but just as an example, let's say Keenan. So let's say I wanted to get involved with Keenan in some way and maybe try to pick his brain about things. He gets fed, from the university. He gets it told. He doesn't really, not that he doesn't have to do any investigative work, but those guys are pretty plugged in. And so I better get my own intel. And so what I would do is I would look for, when they would say players we were interested in, I would go through Twitter and I hit up every single one of them basically. And the ones that responded to me and I could make a relationship with, I did. And then I traded that intel. And so over the course of time, I had been able to basically foster some friendships. And now we just kind of tell each other stuff, and it's been really cool. And Kuz is a part of that as well. So you guys want to be a part of something like that?
AJ, I don't think we can afford to give away a car, brother, but I wish. One of these days we might be able to, but not yet.
Listen, I wouldn't put anything past Chris, but he's something else, guys. He really is. He just gave away 10,000 the day before yesterday or something.
Did he?
Yeah, he had a big check hold up with somebody. He's a super generous guy. Yeah, he's a super generous guy. So,
JSG,
well, it looks like we've got a few people.
Tosh.
Okay, well, it looks like a few of you guys would be interested. And like the thing is like, this is a basketball channel, and if we did it this time of year for insider info, isn't the best, although basketball's still running strong. This is very unusual, but I think it's probably going to be the norm going forward because of the way the portal works. Unless they do some stuff to cut off what August has become for the portal. Basically what these players have done this year, and I think they've caught on to, obviously, is, okay, I get it. I'll go into the portal at the last minute and create a feeding frenzy for my services and get paid to the highest bidder. And they got to do something about that. I mean, they got to do something about that. But that's why we've got info. Yeah, hopefully they will.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, John. John's one of the first guys to. He's been supporting me from day one, and he's been supporting this channel from day one.
He has been extremely good. He's been great. All you guys are, really.
Yeah, JSG, that's what I thought too. And I was trying to explain it. I just didn't do a very good job. But I kind of agree with you. I think that's what Hoppy was referring to. You kind of know the outcomes of those games pretty much. I'm not saying we don't have that capability of beating Penn State, because we do. But it's unlikely, right? So
yep.
And just like Duquesne's chances of beating us are unlikely. So, but the other 10 games are basically 50-50 games. It's basically. So I think that's what he meant. And that's how I took it.
Makes sense.
Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Civil Mark. A quick recap. Nope, we're out. We'll see you. No, kidding. Go for it, Paul.
Well, let's see. Where do we start here? Oh, okay. So Noah Farrakhan, transfer guard, were he available for this cycle? Most people predicted he's probably going to be available next year, Mark. So the reason he was available is for that reason. So West Virginia, basically, this is a low-risk, high-reward situation. This is a guy that will be a starter in the Big 12 next year for the West Virginia Mountaineers. He's a guy that's average double figures in scoring. He's an elite scorer. Really, he can jump out of the gym, similar to Raekwon Battle. If you've watched any of his tape, this guy can get eye level with the rim. I'm not kidding. He can really jump. He's a really good scorer, especially with attacking the rim. He really can score it off the bounce, either elbow, and amusingly enough, he's really good at scoring off the bounce from the 3-point line as well. So it's something he's incorporated into his game. But overall, an extremely, extremely valuable piece. And I'll tell you how valuable he is, Mark. 5-star Darren Peterson, the number 2 overall recruit in the 2025 class, chimed in about West Virginia's latest edition. Peterson recently transferred to Huntington Prep, as we know, is down there in Huntington. And he said, West Virginia is the move right now. So that's how big this move was for us, Mark. This kid is an extremely talented player. He's probably going to have 2 years remaining. And Peterson recognizes that. And, hey, that means they will be able to play together for a year if he's got 2 years remaining.
And to add to what Paul was saying, when he said next year, he means the 24-25 season. It's it appears that he's not going to be eligible to play this coming season, because he'll be transferring for the second time. He'll be transferring for the second time, so he likely won't be eligible, but he should be eligible, the 24-25 season.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, you look at it. What is today? Today's the 17th? That means we got 5 days to figure something out, if we were going to try to apply for a waiver for him. So not only do you have to apply for a waiver, but you have to send it out. Now, I mean, obviously, whether or not they approve it before the 22nd, I don't think that matters, because it's not going to happen for Raekwon Battle either. Keenan Cummings was on the show earlier, Mark, if you want to rewind it. He really did a good job breaking everything down. And he said he doesn't expect a resolution to the Raekwon Battle situation anytime real soon.
Really?
So, yeah.
And Mark, if you're not familiar with who Noah Farrakhan is, I recommend you go watch his highlights. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. I don't know what year. I don't know exactly what year he came in. He actually originally started at East Carolina, played there a year or two, then transferred to Eastern Michigan. That's where he's been. But he was about a 12-point-a-game scorer on average, about 4 rebounds, something like that. I think it was 4 assists. But, yeah, 4 assists a game. 4 assists and 12 points a game, basically. To me, I like Paul's comparison to Raekwon Battle. I mentioned Deuce McBride earlier. I think he's kind of if you clone Deuce McBride and Raekwon Battle and put them together, I think that's kind of what you got.
Pretty high praise,
At least on the offensive end. I'm not saying he's as good as Deuce, but he has the potential to be. He's that type of player as far as the way he plays the game. He's good off the dribble, like Paul said. He's not going to shoot a lot of threes, although he can. He only shoots at about 25% from 3. But he's good enough that you have to respect it. But he's going to make most of his damage off the dribble in the mid-range game, and then he can take it to the rim as well if he needs to. And he's a high flyer. Like Paul said, he can jump out of the gym. So,
yeah, he really can. He's I'm excited about him, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I really would love to see him on this year's team, because I think, I mean, we said this about Jose Perez last year, right? It's always instant gratification, but we really need another guard this year. We truly, truly do. And
Michael Jacob says Michael Jordan's calling you to commit to West Virginia.
what?
That's what your phone's going off for, he said.
Oh, yeah. Somebody keeps calling me, and I had to take a picture and say, dude, look what I'm doing right now. Will you leave me alone, please?
I never understood why Hugs could never recruit better than he did. Case in point, this time last year, Hugs was talking about Jimmy Bell's potential. Well, in Hugs' defense, he did get Eric Stevenson. He did get Emmett back. He did get, he was able to recruit Deuce McBride, obviously. That was a huge pickup. Javon Carter. He was good Hugs was better at getting guys that nobody else thought was that good. He was able to see something in them that nobody else saw. Or make them fit his system. Whereas now we're getting guys who were and don't forget, guys, Hugs had recruited. Hugs had, went out in the portal and got Jesse Edwards and Kirk Teresa. He was part of that. So you got to give him some credit for that.
Somebody had a question on here I wanted to answer. What was it? It was about the
Sharon Young.
Yeah, that's it. Where's that at? Oh, yeah.
Leo Cole.
Well, he just released a top 7 that had us in it.
Yeah.
We're in it. We're in it for sure. I think that most things I've read have us as we're in the running. We're definitely one of the 2 or 3 favorites, guys. So,
and I think we're the Power 5 school on his list, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we are, but most people expect that to change. He's an extremely talented prospect, guys, and a really good piece to next year's class. So I would predict at this point in time, based on the 7 that he released, that Morgantown is the spot. But I think the question we really have to ask is, does he get over-recruited? Because he's a really good player. But if, let's say, the 5-star kid we were talking about earlier comes, those spots start to get smaller and smaller, and then you talk about, okay, well, can you bring kids in on an NIL-only situation? Sure you can. But I mean, if we're talking about just scholarship spots, the way things are now, sometimes these kids get over-recruited, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My phone's going dead, so I'm going to have to jump off of here.
Yeah, I'm good to go as well, man. I think we're good. Okay, your board, Drizzy. I appreciate that. Anybody that's interested in being a moderator for the channel, because we do need one, I think, or a couple.
I agree.
Just drop it down below, and we'll talk about that in the next couple of days and get a hold of you. Just leave an email address or something. We can get a hold of you beside your name, guys. Appreciate that. But we're going to go ahead and jump off here. It's been an hour and 13 minutes, guys. Coach's phone's going dead anyway, so we appreciate that. Appreciate all you guys. Like, subscribe, follow. Be dropping some stuff on Kuz's Corner, Mountaineer Paul, probably tomorrow. So be ready for that as well, guys. This has been another edition of Hoops from the Hills. This one's over. We are out.